Okay, so the presentation is a style of question and answers after a brief introduction to what it means to teach with comprehensible input. This is the first of 2 sessions. The next one will focus on assessment in the CI classroom. So today's session will cover where the term came from, Krashen and Vygotsky, and why it's become the preferred method of teaching for world language teachers. Before we begin though, let's have a little conversation so I know where we all are on this. Like, what do you know about CI? What do you want to know? And do you have any concerns? You can chat it or conversate with me.
I guess sometimes you know how like Martina Bex uses like the target structures as that's kind of her home base, and a lot of the reading and stuff for CI is they always have like like pinpointed target structures. And sometimes I wish like I could sit down with a group of people and think about every level and what it looked like, from a curricular standpoint, like what am I covering when, and also like how sometimes I feel like I maybe miss certain things because of because I'm focused on something else, and for me it's more of like making a shift, because I didn't the first, I don't know, probably 12 years of my career, I didn't really use anything like this. So it's just been, I've had to make that shift, and I still am. So yeah, I guess that would be one question or concern that I have. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? I like what Jeff said, because I think I do a good job with comprehensible input, especially with my true beginners. I use lots of pictures. We do a lot of, calendar talk. I'm very conscientious about, they talk about, you shelter your vocabulary, but it's okay to use different tenses. And I do a lot of, yesterday and tomorrow will be's. But I get to that point that where I get into like the Spanish 2s and heading into 3s. And that's where I think that I'm not as effective, because I feel like they are expected to know so much more, and I can't make everything visual anymore. I can't, break it down. There's not as many cognates to work with. And I think my CI falls apart about halfway through Spanish 2.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Stephanie. I really appreciate that, because I know how to address that as well. I'm getting excited because now I know how to address both of those. Anybody else? I was afraid you'd throw stuff at me that would make me really nervous, since I'm a little nervous. I haven't given a presentation. I gave one presentation before, but I'm a little nervous. So. Great. Anybody else have any other questions or concerns? Okay, and so then I'm looking at, here we have a chat. Great. So, so like, let me see, who is it? Tracy and Jennifer and Donna. Are you familiar with CI?
Yeah, I've been familiarized with it, and I would probably be in Stephanie's camp. It's hard when you're a department of one and you teach all the way through, the college level. Just like, I think I feel overwhelmed by the whole point of 5 preps, 5.5 preps, obviously. I'm teaching 6th grade this year too, which is simple, but just doing all of that and then aligning all of these things into it, and then, rolling out the new standards and looking at the boxes. And so my goal this year is just to like move them on that continuum. And I'm just here to find more ways and ideas of helping to move them from that novice low to the novice mid to the novice high to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Great.
And
okay.
I've taken a bunch of stuff, I've watched a bunch of stuff all summer. I've taken just for that reason.
And that was Donna. I don't know who was
talking. that was me. And I will tell you, I'm an older teacher, And this is not how I was taught. Like what you were doing in your master's was way after me. So,
I've got my master's in 1999.
yeah, my master's was in 1989. So there's been a
Okay.
huge shift,
Yeah.
you know, from 89 till now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming, Donna. Okay. And then Tracy and Jennifer, how about you?
I know a little, but I'm not familiar with it. Like I know some stuff, but not much about it.
That Tracy?
Yeah, that's Tracy. I'm Tracy now. My voice is awful.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer?
I feel like I've gotten out of the practice and I'm just looking for some more information about it. The past year and a half have been tough and I'm at a new district this year, so I'm trying to reacclimate myself to a lot of different things, but.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. And I guess we have someone new, Melinda, or at least new to me. I'm sorry, I don't know everybody. The name's familiar, but Melinda, would you like to share?
I can. I'm at Milford. I think we've met before.
Yeah.
I use CI as much as I can. I've used it for a long time, so I know what it is. I don't know what to tell you. No, it's a great thing to use. I use it at all my levels. I don't use it in the university level just because SUNY Albany expects something different. So
Okay.
I do a little bit of it, but not a whole lot in that level.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so to just touch on what Jeff was talking about, I want to emphasize that with CI, we use a lot of spiraling. And so you're introducing, so like basically I use Voces Intro for my first year, which in this school district happens to be 8th grade, other districts it's 7th grade. But for that whole year, I'm basically introducing vocabulary and it's very, very basic, very, very simple, although I will speak Spanish fluently to the children and expose them to full Spanish in that way and expect them to kind of follow along with what I'm talking about, no matter what I'm talking about, because I'll use facial and hand signals and it's all in context, okay? My level 2 students then are re-exposed to all the same vocabulary. So I got to tell you, all of my students get that packet from intro Voces level, the intro level Voces. They get that packet. And thank God for the district, they also purchased them so they have access to the textbook. So if I notice that they're really weak in one area or not able to do something, I can assign things in the book, or I can simply say, you have access to this as a resource, go back and utilize that in order to be able to satisfy the task of whatever I've given before you right now. And so they can do that. That's so level 1 is then kind of spiraling up a little bit, but it's still using all the same vocabulary, okay, and all the same basic grammar that was introduced in the very first year. Then level 2, now I'm sorry, but in level, so in even in intro, they're hearing subjunctive tense. They're hearing the imperfect and the preterite tense, okay? And in level 1 then, they're hearing it and they may be playing with it a little bit more. Level 2 then, I will do a more grammar focused lesson, maybe once during the year, in which they're able to really identify, oh, this is what we call the preterite tense, in case they ever have to refer to it that way. They can see the distinction then between the preterite and the imperfect tense. And then level 2, they're really introduced to the grammar lessons, but I don't focus much time on it at all. It is very much a like a mini lesson. Level 3 then is they get reintroduced to it again, but with faster moving pace and more in-depth story. Does that make sense? So it's constantly spiraling up, spiraling up, spiraling up. Revisit what we did before and spiral back up. So it's not very linear, which is probably also why I need to keep myself focused and linear when I can. Somebody chatted. Oh, okay. Thank you, Erin. So did that make sense, Jeff?
It does, yeah. I feel like I feel the same. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. The woman that's mentioned when she gets into her level 2, she feels like it sort of falls apart a little bit. I guess you know my struggle is we all know that we all talk about like the super 7 and the sweet 16 verbs and how important they are for like developing language and all that stuff. And so I guess the thing I struggle with is getting myself to stay kind of like in that home of like these are the things that are going to help them communicate the most. This is the vocabulary. These are like the structures that will help them acquire other language faster. And sometimes it's hard for me not to like fall back to the list or to the
Okay.
to the topic or whatever. I don't know how to say that.
If you've ever worked with ESL students, you'll find the very basic vocabulary, what they absolutely must know in order to acquire more language are their question words. The first thing we teach them are their question words, and they absolutely must know those words. We found we needed to translate those into whatever language they spoke, whatever their home language was, because those are absolutely essential. Once they have those, it flows. They're immersed in language and they start picking it up based on what they need and whatever's presented before them. So I'm sorry, but like I'm just gonna be real honest. The Super 7, Sweet 16, I never heard of them before. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you have.
Also, I gotta be quite honest, Martina Bex, I have no idea who that is. So
yeah.
I'm like from a different world, sort of. I don't think in that way. I'm not trained to be a foreign language teacher. I'm trained to be an ESL teacher. And our goal is to get kids to be proficient in English as soon as possible. And I work on the same premise. My goal is to get kids to be proficient in Spanish as fast as possible. And I focus on communicative Spanish. At the higher level, those of you who are teaching college level, I'm not addressing that because quite honestly, you need to take them you do need to take them to the next level up. I only teach 8th grade and then levels 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I'm really addressing those in the high school level where we're trying to get them just to be proficient enough to get by at the end of level 3, that they are now at what we call a beginner intermediate. They're not even, close to advanced yet. So at the college level, hopefully we're taking people to the advanced level, so.
I think it's a good thing that you just said there, Amy, because this summer and having looked at our new standards, I always this is year 34 for me. It always was that we were trying to get our kids to the end of intermediate. We're not anymore.
Yeah.
If you can get them to intermediate low, that's going to be regions.
Yes.
It's the bar for vocab and grammar. Yes, we want them to recognize it, but using it, their communication skills, it's much lower than I started teaching back in 1988, and wow, kids had to be at intermediate, almost advanced when they left high school, and they could read at those levels, they could write at those levels. Speaking was really shaky. We've said now their speaking and listening skills are more important. If they're intermediate low to intermediate mid, we've done our jobs. So I think that kind of lessens some pressure. I'm glad you said that, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for saying that and giving me the perspective that you just did too. That's really helpful too.
Good question. Okay, so if we're gonna go to the CI, the more comprehensible, then how is that gonna prepare kids for like the AP class?
For the what?
The AP class, is that gonna change as well?
So the AP class, would that be after level 5?
No, we give it after Spanish 4, yeah, Spanish 4 AP.
Spanish 4. So I mean, if I were teaching Spanish 4, which I'd love to, and I'm not, but I would teach that with all literature, right?
Depends.
Okay, but at least something along those lines to, I don't know, I'd have to look at the AP curriculum. Like I said, I don't teach that. This is really only geared towards the lower levels that I teach. I'm just not prepared. I mean, I don't mind looking into
Question,
it. 'Cause
because I'm not sure
Yeah.
how the AP is going to be figuring into the new standards and all of that. That's something that I can address and ask Candace about. and
Yeah,
Get Tracy.
I would also
I don't know.
suspect
That's a
that it
great
is
question.
based on, I would suspect, I mean, okay, so the thing is, my students are at a very high level of comprehending Spanish. So if I'd have to look at the AP curriculum to understand what is going on, but I'm guessing it's just taking them up a level of understanding. So I'm not sure how this,
A lot of writing.
a lot of writing. I do a lot of writing in here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do a lot of writing. I don't know. I just don't feel prepared to really address it intelligently because I haven't taught it and so I'm not familiar with the standards. Okay, but okay, thank you, Erin. I'm getting so confused. I get distracted super easily. Sorry. So, oh, the sheltered vocabulary while using different tenses. Stephanie brought that up, especially with 2 and 3. I understood it when you were talking about it, and I'm thinking you're talking about, you're trying to take the kids up to a higher level and you're feeling, it's so hard not to see people when I'm talking. You're feeling that, I need to look at people. I see Jeff and I see Aaron, but I don't see Stephanie. Where's Stephanie? And the other people don't have their camera on. Oh, there we go. Phew. Okay, people again, there. I hid you. Okay, so you're in level 2, you're trying to, you're feeling as though it's falling apart?
I tend not to use as much, I don't think I use as much CI when I get there. The higher the level, the less manipulatives I have.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's when it becomes not concrete.
Yeah.
That's where I fall apart.
Okay, well, to me, the concepts aren't really even concrete at level 1. So there's not a lot of people, I know TPR and stuff like that is not necessarily all there is. Like, that's not really totally just comprehensible input. Comprehensible input is exposing students to real language, it's more like a whole language philosophy. So you're exposing kids to the entire whole language and then you're breaking it apart from there. So if you're exposing students to literature, to movies, videos, to newspaper articles, you know, and one of the best ways I learned was when I went to Chile, I read the newspaper. My level of Spanish was not nearly high enough to be able to read the newspaper, but I learned a lot by doing it. And so I do the same types of things to the students. So there's, you know, I don't use sheltered vocabulary. I never use sheltered vocabulary because when I speak in Spanish, I speak fluently, and it's, you know, my kids all know. I'm like, okay, well, this is the vocabulary the book is giving you, but that's not the vocabulary I'm used to. So I said, you're going to have to interpret this into whatever vocabulary is in front of you. I'm not an easy teacher. I have very, very high but my kids follow me. But I think a lot of it's because of the spiraling that I do. I'm always spiraling, bringing them back. So first of all, I'd say there's no sheltered vocabulary. You expose them to a level appropriate literature. And Voces makes it really easy because it's breaking it down already. Does that make sense? So it's like shorter clips, easier clips, and then it gets more and more in depth. And so that for me makes my life so much easier because I don't have to dig for resources. Carrie taught way less curriculum for levels 2 and 3. Okay. I make up a lot of my own stuff for levels 2 and 3. Right now for level 2, I use As beginning of the year, as a review of level 1, I'll use the mini series, Eres tu Maria, which most of you know, right? You know, Eres tu Maria from Realidades. And for level 3, I use La Catrina from Paso a Paso. I just found them on the internet. I just find them on YouTube, and I bring them in and I just create, we play them. I create a vocab list. I create questions. I create activities that go along with it. And that is where we start. How we doing? Yes, they did. Yeah. I haven't actually previewed that, so I can't wait to do so. Oh, Cuarto Misterioso. No lo conozco eso. I don't know this one. So I know. So CI is completely, so I kind of explained a little bit about what CI is and where it came from. Research-based, that's where my brain goes. So then basically outlining in a nutshell what Krashen's theory, Cummins' theory, Vygotsky's theories are, and how it all came together for me, understanding what this whole thing is. And I don't know if that's going to help anyone though. So does this help anybody? To me, I can't make sense of stuff if I don't have it all like this. But then we go into, I wanted to make sure I got some strategies out for how to teach all 4 skills. Oh yeah, extra is really good too. I use that at level 3, sometimes at the end of the year. So extra Espanol, but so there's all kinds of resources, which would be great. Do you want to talk about resources or do you want to talk about this? I don't know. I was thinking maybe some strategies for how to make it. Okay, good. So like reading, you know, you activate background knowledge, talk about cognates and words you know, and use those as context clues. I mean, this overlaps to how we teach reading even in 4th grade, you know, for the 4th, 5th grade. Use context clues, and then you check for comprehension. Does that even make sense of what I just read? They're doing the same thing in Spanish as they do in English class. And then use the pictures when they're available. And as long as they have that in front of them and these strategies are like, this is what I give my students. I said, you know, if I give you an article to read, I don't know if you want to see something I handed out recently. Oh, I can't do that while I'm doing this. I could, I guess. I'll just do it, whatever. I'll show you La Catrina. We started out a level 3 with this article. Sorry for everything I have to go through, but La Catrina. No, I'm not gonna be able to find it. Great. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And now I can't find it. It's anyway, it's the article on La Catrina. ¿Quién es La Catrina? Oh, wow. I just want to show you a reading that I gave to my students at the beginning of level 3 so you get an idea. Can't find it. Sorry, I'm not very good at this, but off the cuff stuff. But it's an article about La Catrina and the history of La Catrina in Mexico, written for native speakers of Spanish. And I just handed my students, I'm like, figure it out. You can do it. What do you use to get there? It had a picture. We had a little bit of background. Okay, so what do you know and how can you figure this out? They struggled with it, but they could figure it out, you know, by asking the questions and following through with using context clues, words they know, and putting things together. I also encourage them to ignore words you don't know. See if you can figure it out. And lo and behold, they usually can. So I had them struggle through it here in the classroom. So they couldn't use any device. They couldn't use anything. It was a handout on a piece of paper. I had them take notes, and then I had them go ahead and translate it by the next day. So any questions on that? Any comments? Do I just sound like a really mean teacher? I don't know. I think I do, but it works, and my kids actually like me, so we'll just go with that. I don't know. It does work for me somehow. So listening is the same thing. I'll present something, maybe a radio show, maybe a podcast. Okay, it's just going to be a short clip. I set them up first with creating some background knowledge. This is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about lizards today. Okay, what's a lizard look like? Get some ideas, talk about it a little bit. And then we jump into, we listen to it. The first time, just listen to the entire thing. The second time, you start to take notes. The third time, you're able to answer questions. The same thing when we take the Regents exam in Spanish, right? Or the proficiency exam in Spanish, the same type of stuff, right? These are the strategies that we use. So we take it up to whatever level the students are at. Speaking, I talk a lot about circumlocution. So, you know, I don't care. You're not going to have all the vocabulary. I don't have all the vocabulary. I'm a fluent Spanish speaker, but I'm weak in a lot of nouns and a lot of vocabulary I'll struggle with sometimes. I have to come up with a different way of presenting it. So that's my job. And so I show the kids how I would come up with that. And I talk about some silly stories I have from when I was learning Spanish and how I felt like a fool, and yet I got my message across, everybody laughed, and I was thick-skinned enough to be able to handle that. Everybody might have thought I was stupid because I didn't speak Spanish perfectly. That's okay. It's a lot of dealing with that really angst, uncomfortableness of speaking a language that's not your home language. So, so we've already had 2 speaking exercises in front of the class. I make them come right up here. They have to talk to the class in level 2. Okay. Level 1 is, I mean, actually even 8th graders have already come to the front of the class to speak in Spanish. It was very basic. It was buenos dias, ¿cómo está? Estoy bien, ¿cómo te llamas? Yo me llamo, blah, blah, blah. They had to do that in front of the class just to get the sense of that uncomfortableness. I'm teaching them how to deal with being really uncomfortable in front of their peers. That's kind of the biggest thing I teach, I think. And if they can work through that, they can do anything. So they've already had to deal with that this year in the 10 days we've been here. Writing, I use the writing process, okay? So they have to brainstorm first. What am I gonna write about? Can they brainstorm in English? Okay, but honestly, I tell them no, because they have to come up with ideas in Spanish. They're not allowed to translate. Zero tolerance for that, because it's obviously no good for them. So they, you know, they still try to come in. I had a couple of kids today coming in with everything written in English. And I said, you cannot do that because your level of Spanish is not at the level of English. So when you're going to be writing in Spanish, you're going to feel like a kindergartner. It's going to be super simple and you're going to feel really stupid because you can't really express what you want to say, but that's your job because that's the level you're at in Spanish. So you can't use the story you wrote with it. They're writing, I don't know what it was. It was about an angry teacher. You know, the teacher got angry. It was part of Nuestra Historia. The teacher got angry. Well, no, you have to. So they have to think of the name of the teacher. They have to think of the conflict, you know, the items that would be involved, and then the conflict, and then the solution. Just the same way we story map in English, they have to story map in Spanish, and then they have to express it very, very simply. I also, in writing, always give a model, okay? Because that's just essential. That's like the core of what they can hang on to. So I'll take the Nuestra Historia and I'll delete, according to this, they're in this was level 1 Spanish. So I deleted the details of the story and let them use the structure, okay? I do that because even in ESL, I've seen that work extremely fast. I had a girl come in 11th grade, spoke 0 English, and we modeled for her paragraphs so that by the time the Regents came around, she actually passed the Regents. She was from Yemen, didn't speak any English coming here. And by the end of, so what, how many months later is that? 9 months later, she was able to use strategies to pass the readings exam. Does she speak English fine? No, but she used the strategies to pass the exam and get to where she needed to go. And we know that she will carry on learning English. The same way our students, if we teach them strategies to hang on to when they don't know what to do, they will then know how to continue learning Spanish. Does that make sense? So strategies are a huge, huge, huge help. So I use the writing process. They brainstorm in class, then they will write their first draft, and then they have to edit their second draft, and then they submit it to me. When they submit it to me, I will highlight any errors I see and give it back to them and expect them to correct it. They always do. If they can't correct it, then I teach it. Very simple, you know. Oh, well, it's got to be the third person saying it. So is that grammar based? Yes. There's no hard, fast rules about not using grammar or not teaching grammar at all. It's just, you know, when it's necessary, they need to know that when they're writing, it's going to be the word está, not estás. If, you know, if that's, you know, it's stuff like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's where we are. Let's see. So yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that the classroom is under attack. Yeah, classroom is under attack. Yeah. And we can talk about that further if anybody, because I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are totally against it, or, you know, just thinking it doesn't work or doesn't really prepare their students for, like we heard, AP or for level 4, you know, and so that needs to be addressed. And if you feel that there needs to be, I think, I didn't really get into that here. There's a link you can go to read that article. And then I also wanted to put in the Cafla standards, because they are the basis of our New York State World Language Standards. That I've been using the Cafla standards ever since I've gone back to teaching Spanish again, which was when I moved to Florida in 2012, and I started teaching Spanish down there. And we pretty much used the Cafla standards then. So this is a little how I understood foreign language back in the day, that it was about learning about the language, grammar, and culture. And as I began teaching in the 1990s, 2000s, there was a divide, kind of like for comprehensible input and for communicative based instruction versus grammar based. And so I mentioned when I talked to Jeff, there was a little, when I was in one of the school districts I taught in, you know, there was a philosophical divide completely, which made me move on to another school district because I wasn't a good fit. They wanted grammar based and I wasn't able to provide it. And then just to give a little background who I am, if anyone wanted to know. Was that too much or? That's how I do it.
Could you kind of tell us, like, I think most of us understand like how you're using like La Katrina, the video series, and do you show, like, I know that one, it has 10 episodes. Is it an episode a month? Do you do it as one big unit and then move on to something else? How do you break up your use of that video series?
Oh, I immerse them in it. So it's every single day until it's over. La Katrina has 14, so that's probably going to go. We watched each episode at least 2 times. So I introduce with each episode, I introduce the vocabulary. And in the vocabulary, I do not do words. I'll do phrases. Okay, so ay que lindo. Okay, that'll be, you know, that'll be part of the vocab list. So they have to know the phrases, and then I present the episode, and I try not to stop. Sometimes I do, but I know it's annoying for the kids. I always apologize because I get excited and I want to stop and see that they're with me in the understanding, but it really stops the fluidity of it. And my other goal is to get them immersed. So I also trust my students to tell me if they're not following it. So yeah, my goal is to go right through the first watching and just kind of immerse them in it. And I always put the closed caption on so they can see. Now, it's not always good. You know, a lot of times it's really bad. And I just say that to the kids. Oh, that's not really what they said, or, you know, that's not the right spelling, or, you know, it transcribed it wrong. They understand. They understand that how CC goes. So I do that, but I do it because I think it helps. I think the more time you see the Spanish written as you're hearing it, the better it is. So that's how I do it. So we watch it the first time, and then we stop, and then we watch it a second time. Usually the second time will be the next day. So of course we'll review the vocabulary before we watch it the next day. We'll watch it, and then we'll do some comprehensible questions. Oftentimes now if you're familiar with La Katrina, there's a review at the end of each one, and they kind of ask questions. And so we'll have a little discussion based on that. Sometimes in English, sometimes in Spanish. So we do dance between English and Spanish, and that kind of just for comprehensive purposes, to make sure everyone's comprehending well. Engaged in the story too. They get excited about the story because they're mysteries, you know, yeah. Any other questions? Let's see. Oh, sure. I'll share the presentation with you. How do I do that? I don't have everyone's email address. Is Aaron still with us?
Yep, I can just send that out.
I gave you a copy, right?
Yep.
I shared it with you. Yep, I shared it with you. Okay. Yeah, because it has some links in it. Okay, so others have criticized the theory, saying that there needs to be a level of output as well during that language learning process. So absolutely, I do agree with that. So they do need to be speaking when they, you know, when we speak in the target language, it forces us to pull things out of our head that we didn't know we had in our head. So I do think that that is essential to put them through that process. You have to, you know, establish your relationship with the students first so that they trust you. And also they have to really trust that this classroom is a sacred environment, that they are not allowed to make fun of anyone and no one is allowed to make fun of them. My rules are posted everywhere, and all it says is be nice to everybody, help everyone, and ask for help when you need it. Those are the first 3 rules. And then of course I have one for the rules. No, you can't wear a hat in my classroom, just because of my cultural background. But so they I like 0 tolerance for being mean. I had a kid in 8th grade walk in this year, and I make all the kids take off their hats. And this other kid laughed at this one kid because he had hat head. And I made him walk right out of the classroom. He had to come back and apologize to the student. And then I just made it real clear that there is absolutely zero tolerance for any unkindness, because every single person in here is going to be made to feel very uncomfortable by speaking Spanish, and they're all going to be required to speak Spanish. And so it is their job to support each other. And that's just what I've established here. And now I have a little bit of a reputation. It's my 4th year here in Gilboa, so they all know that about me and about this classroom. I also do shut the door, and if we're doing anything like kids standing up in front of the class, and I can shut the screen so that, you know, people can't see in. So it's a private environment. So far, I've only had 1 student. I do have 1 student right now who's in 9th grade who is still struggling. And so but when I have that, I'm just very gentle with them. You know, I let them sit down. If they really can't handle it, I just say, okay, maybe we should do it tomorrow. Okay, then they have a day, they can come back and do it. I hold them to it. I have very strong, high expectations, but I'm also very, very gentle, if that makes sense. So they have to speak in the classroom and they have to write. I did stop having them share their papers with other students because I noticed that may be a little bit too much for people. So I just, I used to have them kind of peer edit too, and I'll do that. I like it. I think it's a great thing to do if you can do it in your group. I just have to be sensitive to the group I'm with. So sometimes they can handle, sometimes they can't. Does that make sense? So the thing is, this is exciting, is the kids speak Spanish now in the hallway. I had a kid who didn't even like me last year. And she's just one of those, she just doesn't really like me, right? So it was funny though, because she just walked by yesterday and she was with this boy and he never took Spanish with me, but I don't know. I say buenos dias to everybody. And sometimes they're like, we don't speak Spanish. Okay. So I was like, so buenos dias. Oh, I don't speak Spanish. So I said, oh, lo siento. And which means I'm sorry. And so he's like, what does that mean? I heard him say to her, and she turns up, she goes, it means, she said she's sorry. So, that's super simple, I know. But the thing is, the kids are speaking in Spanish in the hallways, which really wasn't anything at all accepted here before I came. They're really, it's a country school, and they really don't, that's not what they're gonna do, but they do now, and it's just kind of exciting. People have commented, the board has commented on how much they've heard the kids are speaking Spanish in the school, outside of the classroom. So that for me is super exciting, because I just fell in love with Spanish when I was 14 and I really wanted to learn it. But when I was, I don't know, I just didn't respond to anything other than just the language part of learning. I didn't like cooking. I like cooking at home, but I didn't like cooking in school. And other things that people wanted to do for fun, I didn't think was fun. So that's how I do it. I don't like games much either. Now the kids do like games, so I had to come around to playing games. So we do play Quizlet games with the vocabulary phrases and everything. I'm not allowed to the kids can't have their own, but I put it on the smart board, and they really do have a fun time doing that. So I have tried to include a few more games as far as that's concerned. I like the competitiveness, but I focus on vocab and phrases for that. So it's kind of still whole language. I don't know why I'm getting too much sun in my face. Okay, here we go. I'll hold it here. So the next time we talk will be about assessment and but at the levels that I teach. So I'm sorry, I can't really address the higher levels at this point because it's not what I teach. I just don't feel comfortable with that. Anything else?
Thanks for sharing with us, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
Stephanie.
I appreciate it too.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, your enthusiasm is contagious. I just want you to know that. I can see how your students, would love it. I actually have tried to be a little bit more high engaging in that regard too. And they're all like rolling their eyes at me. I said, oh, January's coming. Just enjoy it now. So yeah, just having a good enthusiasm and making them feel really comfortable is, I think, huge. So like that, but I like getting them up there as soon as possible. I usually kind of wait, but I think I'm done waiting.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Donna. And the thing is, we really have so many resources we can use now. That if you find something that you're excited about, you can talk to the kids about pretty much anything. So if you're like, I went to Spain this summer, and honestly, I don't really like it. I'm totally into Chile. I have no idea why. But I did go to Spain just because I thought I should. So I did it. But the point is, the kids will get interested in anything you're excited about, and you can teach about anything in Spanish. So if you just like talking about like marine science, but you happen to be a Spanish teacher, you could teach Spanish through teaching about marine science, and the kids will get all excited. I do happen to find, I'm in love with Latin America. So am I in love with politics? No, not at all. But I mean, it is a huge part of life down there. So it became a huge part of my experience down there. So because of that, I will reference, my stories from living in Chile. And it gets us into talking about, some of the government things that we need to discuss and things like that. Some of the social conflicts that are part of life in Latin America. And but really, I just like the music and the culture. So I do a lot of music. I do, you could teach a whole curriculum on music, quite honestly. La Vida, Viva la Vida by Mark Anthony. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful for positive action. It's all about just live your life. You're going to have all these hardships, all these horrible things happen. Just live your life and be happy. And get out on the street and dance. Kids love it. Netflix has a ton of movies in Spanish, a ton of television programs in Spanish. They have that one, that cooking show, that really silly cooking show. You know what I'm talking about? In Spanish. I'll show it to you because it's really awesome. I put it on when
Is it Nailed It Mexico?
Yeah. That's the one. Who said that? You know what we're talking about? Oh, hi, Melinda. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Nailed It Mexico. So you hear, nailed it in wherever it is. This is just in Mexico. So it's just funny. They're all speaking Spanish. There's also BBC Mundo for if you're into just giving them the news every morning. I used to have, my daily routine for 8th grade, I have to say the ABCs, count to 10, then we count to 20, then we count to 30, then we count by 10s up to 100. When we get to 100, then we have to count by 100s to 1,000, and then we go count by thousands to 1,000,000. So by about November, we're counting to 1,000,000 every single day in Spanish. Not by ones, obviously, but that's how we do it. We count by 10s to 100, then we count by hundreds to 1,000, we count by thousands to 10,000, then we count by 10,000s to 100,000s, then we count by 100,000s to 1,000,000. Why? Because we're reviewing all of those, those words, which is super. I told the kids, what are you going to need most when you go to another country? You got to know, you got to buy things. You have to know numbers. You really got to know your numbers, and you have to know big numbers if you go to Latin America, because the bus is going to cost 1,500. It's not going to cost 25. So Netflix, you got Amazon, a lot of programs there to pull from. I used to work for VOCES, so quite honestly, when I did curriculum work for VOCES in 2015, when they were first starting out, I was kind of bored with teaching, and I was thinking of going and selling VOCES. I looked into that, and I was doing kind of getting the curriculum together. And what happens is you just look for those articles online, and you make them part of the book. That's how easy it is.
I have to say that VOCES, even if you just get yourself I'm lucky enough that my kids all can get in it and use it. But if you get yourself one and you can project it, there's little video clips, native speakers, interviews, all sorts of just quick little articles, advertisements, and it's all authentic materials. I don't have the hours in a day. I'm like Donna. I teach 5 different levels. I don't have the hours in the day to go and find something. It's right there. And, even like I said, if not every kid has it, you can get your own subscription for a year, next to nothing, and then just project these really cool things. The questions are there. They play. There's even the option that if it's speaking, you can slow down the speech, and it's done in a way that it doesn't become garbled. Like if you were a person that sat in the old fashioned foreign language labs, this really, they do, it's a great job. And, I'm just always looking for the easier way when you're doing the 5 preps. The quicker you can find materials, the better. And then the summer, they do a summer conference online free, that incredible resources. And maybe I should take the job selling VOCEs.
I know. I was thinking,
That's my
I'm gonna
retirement
tell
job.
everybody, you and I are not getting paid by VOCEs or Teachers Discovery for promoting VOCEs. So just a caveat. I no longer work for I never did work for VOCEs. I was an independent contractor back in 2015 when I was creating. They are always looking for teachers too, but they don't really pay anything at all. That's why I said don't contact me anymore. But yeah, we don't get paid. Stephanie's not getting paid. I'm not getting paid. It's a really helpful resource, and hopefully they'll come up with more. There's just got to be, it came out of, we knew that everything was going digital. Everyone was going into online teaching. It was just clear, how many years ago was that? Like 10? Yeah, over 10 years ago. And so New York is way behind in all that. I mean, you got in Florida, we have the, I can't even, my brain is shot
Yeah,
today.
the Florida Online High School has been there
Yeah, all the schools.
since the early
they're all online.
2000s.
Yeah. So, and I taught for them for the first year I was there. So, it's just a really makes it easy. So hopefully they'll get more textbooks with these resources. But I also, because I do have time now, my kids are both grown and I live on my own. I got a dog and, this job. So, and I don't have to travel. I'm lucky enough to live right here where I teach. So I do have a little bit of time, and my kids, being in the country, they did, they thinking that they don't have to learn Spanish, didn't realize that we have a ton of native Spanish speakers here in Gilboa, and I think everyone I've interviewed, there was one person from Roxbury, and everybody else who I've interviewed lives here in Gilboa with a Gilboa address. So what I started doing is my own interviews modeled after the ones from VOCEs. I would go and interview the people here, all speaking 100% in Spanish and all speaking a native level Spanish at the normal, like we would have a conversation. So, and it's been great because my kid's like, whoa, I know her, or I know him. What? They speak Spanish? We have no idea that existed here. That's been fun for me. I'm more than happy to share those. Those are on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Continue on doing that with, for those, if you want.
Yeah, that would be a fun thing to share, Amy.
Yeah. It's kind of cool to hear the stories of other people and how they've traveled. I'll share them. Who wants them? You want them? I'll share some with you, Stephanie. I don't know. Donna, you are you from around here too? Like your school?
Cherry Valley, but there's a lot of, some of my students realize that there's people who work on the farms around here are used to, they'd go home and get on the farms and talk to their farm hands in Spanish, and that was encouraging. I don't have that as much, but it would just be neat, for them to, we play, you guys, in sports. It's not like maybe they've seen them. Right. Maybe they've seen them at a game or something.
And I have a new student right now who just came in from, his mom's from Peru. His dad's from Dominican Republic. But mostly, oh, what am I doing? I'm mostly interviewing adults in the community here who the kids just didn't know are native Spanish speakers because they speak English fluently as well. I'm gonna go to my station, my channel. Okay, now I can show you on my channel. So this is my YouTube channel. I am not sure if, I think these are all public. Yeah, because I put my student stuff as private. So for example, this is the mother of one of our board members. You know her?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is, he teaches across the hall from me.
I'm not going to keep playing it too long because I'm not sure if everyone here speaks Spanish. Yeah, so that's one. This is the boy who started it all. I met him in Roxbury as a waiter. And I was like, wow, he's young. He'll relate to the kids. He's actually my son's age. He's kind of got a sad story. As you all know, El Salvador is pretty intense. So,
You turn it up, Amy.
oh, I'm sorry. I guess it won't work. You know what I have to do? I have to share. I haven't done this in a while. Share computer sound. There we go. Tell me if this is better.
Que hay, pero muy bonito, muchas personas ahí.
Qué lindo. ¿Y
He's got a
usted
low
vive
voice.
ahora?
And I can play. This is the father of one of my students.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
¿Cómo se llama usted?
Me llamo Víctor,
¿De dónde es?
ecuatoriano.
¿Cómo es Ecuador?
Un país pequeñito, pero muy, muy hermoso.
And I gotta tell you, the student, he was tickled pink. He was in 11th grade last year when I did this and showed it. And I mean, this has gone, you know, his whole family's seen it. And even Mr. Howard Manson, his whole family saw that video too. They were so excited because she's in her 80s, I think, or maybe she's even 90. I mean, it's kind of precious because I got a whole interview of her, you know. So he shared it with the whole family. So this kid was tickled pink. He's like, oh, my dad is so cute. Can we keep watching it? You know, just, and, you know, quite honestly, it's hard having a parent from another country in this environment. So my kids grew up the same way, and sometimes they suffer embarrassment. My dad speaks with an accent, and it's the kids don't like to be different. So when doing this, it just made him proud, and it made me really excited to see him so proud. And so, and it took me really, this didn't take long at all. Honestly, I did try to get the editing stuff and try to edit, and I couldn't do it. It was so hard. So all I did is I took these as one shots on my iPhone, recorded them, and posted them to YouTube. And then this is the first one. This is Elsa. She's from Guatemala.
No fue difícil hacer amistades con personas de mi edad, porque en el Bronx hay mucha gente de Guatemala, mucha gente de Honduras, mucha gente de Puerto Rico.
So this one I did have to edit because I didn't think it should go over 8 minutes, and she's a friend of mine, so she talks a lot, and we were having quite the conversation while I was recording, so I decided to edit it out, a lot of it, and I just started where she was really talking about the kids, something that would really excite the kids. So she's talking about her life as a child right now. Oopsie, or as a young person. She moved here when she was 18. Okay, thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah, he said he was leaving. So. So with these, I had them all listen to it. We listened to it a few times. And then they wrote a letter to the presenter. And and I sent them in the mail. The presenters all were very excited to get the letters from the students. And of course, they didn't have last names on them. So there was nothing shared, you know, between it. It was just all first names. But it was like a thank you. And they did write in Spanish. They had to write their letter in Spanish. Of course, I modeled it for them as well. You're welcome, Melinda. Thank you very much for coming. Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, I think I need to stop my share. There we go. So, hopefully you'll feel more comfortable just walking into the classroom and speaking Spanish, you know, and putting on some music and dancing and singing, and maybe even getting the lyrics off the songs and handing those out to the kids and say, hey, what's this saying? I let the kids work in groups. They can work in groups. They can't, they have to be 3 feet apart. Okay, they got to be 3 feet apart. They're loud enough. They can handle it. Let them work in and figuring it out using the strategies, and kind of let go, you know, of really having to be in control of everything they learn. And you'll find out how much they really do learn when, I mean, it's just amazing. It's almost like they just start to blossom. So those are my ending words of encouragement. And I just hope you all just have a lot of fun with the kids. Enjoy it. Spanish is a beautiful, beautiful language. So is French, German, anything. Just learning language is so much fun. And, you know, we're kind of the gateway to the rest of the world for these kids. You know, they got to get out there and learn different cultures. And, you know, the same thing. You just got to be open. So have fun.
Thank you.
Amy. Very appreciated. Our next meeting will be October 25th. And hopefully we get more people to join us. This has been fantastic. And if you want me to work on something for October 8th, just let me know and we'll see what we can pull together.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Erin. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. I'll see you later.
All right. Good job. Thank you.